guys are doing well. Today I have day number 12 and an insert that I wanted to share with you. This is a transparency sheet from an Ali Edwards kit that I got several years ago, and I decided to cut out this little saying on my Cricut, or sorry, not my Cricut, my Silhouette. And I didn't show all that work, but I did want to show you guys how that turned out. I think it looks cute. And that is just going to go in front of this little insert page that I have with the little squares. Now, it was getting a little lost in front of those pictures, so I decided to add this piece of vellum. And the nice thing about the vellum is it's still transparent, so you can see through the picture, or not transparent, but translucent, so you can still see through this die cut piece I made. But it also allows you to kind of mute that background so you can see this die cut that I put on the page a bit better. And it also is kind of staticky, so they stick together pretty well without adding any extra adhesive or anything. So these are some photos of Christmas lights that we saw when we drove around. Well, that's one of our favorite things to do during Christmas, is just to drive and look at Christmas lights. So these are Christmas lights from a couple different occasions, and I just added these in. I think this is a good way to use these little square page protectors, because I don't necessarily need an entire page to show Christmas lights, or an entire like 4x6 photo or anything to show Christmas lights. And I like this because then I can show several different Christmas lights that we liked without, having like 3 or 4 spreads of Christmas lights. So I'm just using a variety of stickers and chipboard pieces and things like that for my stash. I thought those little houses from the Snow and Cocoa line were perfect. They're little puffy stickers because they're houses that we mostly went to go see. I thought they would work well on this layout. And then I also have that Sparkle On sticker that is from Ali Edwards, and the Merry and Bright chipboard is also from an Ali Edwards kit. Now I'm just figuring out what paper I want to use, and I was thinking I was going to put paper in all these empty squares, but then I remembered that some of the empty squares I wanted to put a see-through element in, so I'm not going to end up using all this paper. I'm going to take off that top and bottom sheet, and I'm also going to move some of these photos around. I didn't like how the open spot was in the top and bottom middle, and I wanted to kind of vary that up a bit. So you'll see here in a minute I'm going to end up moving some of these photos around. Right now I'm just trimming out the little squares to back the stickers that I decided to use. And the paper I'm using is also from the Snow and Cocoa line on this page. So I'm just going to tuck those in. This one's a little too big, so I'm going to have to trim it just a smidge. And all the stickers that I'm using on this layout, I'm actually going to put on the outside of the page protector. It just helps to not bulk up the page protector, but it also kind of just gives some extra texture to the outside. So here's where I'm trying to decide which photos I need to move. For this one, it was a little more difficult because the photos in the back were my daughter when she had a little photo shoot for our Christmas cards, and I want to make sure she was facing in the right direction on the pages, so I didn't have as many options, so I definitely wanted to make sure that I had the photos in the right place on that back side. So I decided on this. I like that the open squares are a little offset. They're not above and below each other this time. And I'm just gluing down all these embellishments. These chipboard pieces, the adhesive came off the back of this one, so I ended up just adding some extra, which I usually end up doing anyway. And then I also added some extra adhesive to that Sparkle On heart. Those aren't very sticky either. These little puffy stickers were so cute. I thought I would use the little snowflakes, even though it hasn't snowed here yet. But it seemed to work well. And then I started using these, but I didn't like how that looks, so I'm just going to pull those off. I thought the Beautiful and Bright was perfect, and it just kind of anchors that little house on that square. And now I'm going to work on the back side. For this one, I don't have as many open spaces, so I'm going to just add a couple pieces of chipboard to a couple different photos. I thought I was going to use that Enjoying the Season, but I like the Love circle better, so I'm going to pop that out and use that instead. And it was a little perfect spot there on the open area of that photo. And you're going to see I'm going to move some of these photos around again. The Feliz Navidad square in the bottom left, and then that blue one in the top left, I'm going to move those or swap those back and forth from each other. I just thought that looked nicer. I'm going to add the Big Love for this and Ho 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 And because the Feliz Navidad already had Feliz Navidad on it, I thought the Ho 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 would look better on a picture that did not have words on it yet. So I'm pretty happy with those. I'm not going to use these stars as I thought I was going to. I'm just going to glue these little chipboard pieces down, again using a little extra adhesive to make sure everything sticks. And now I'm going to work on these open squares. At first I used these stars, but I end up pulling these out. I don't like how that looks. You'll see here in a second what I end up using. The snowflake was cute, but it was really thick, so I decided to pull out a wood veneer star that I got in an Ali Edwards kit instead. I think that works better. I also like that it's white. I think it just brings in some more lightness on the page. The pictures here are pretty dark with the Christmas lights as far as the background, so I thought that would look good having some white there, help balance the page a bit more. So I am going to end up pulling out a little Christmas tree to put in that top one. I really like how that looks. And then I decided to add some sequins to that pocket, and I think the sequins ends up looking like snow, so I thought that was perfect. And then I'm trying to figure out how I'm going to close this off. I do end up deciding to use some of this fabric ruffles that I made. And I'm just auditioning a couple different colors, trying to figure out what I like. I do like the red one that I'd already put on the back, but I thought that I needed something else. I decided to go with more this neutral gray ruffle here on this one, and I like how that looks. To close the pocket after I put the sequins on, I do just end up stitching. I have a fuse tool, but I didn't feel like pulling it out and heating it up for that little bitty spot, so I just decided to sew it. And it is really, really messy stitching, but that's fine because I'm going to be covering it with this little ruffle. The sequence I'm using is kind of a pearlescent or a opalescent white, and then more of a clear opalescent color. And I really like how it looks like snow on the ground. So you can see here I stitched. It's super ugly, but that's okay. I'm going to use my Beacon 3-in-1 glue to glue these fabric strips on. Had a big glue goober on there. So I'm just going to glue that down. I like this Beacon for this kind of thing. It's really strong, and since I was gluing on plastic and using fabric, I thought that was our best bet for adhesive. So that's what it looks like. I really like how that topper turned out. I like how it adds a little extra texture to the top, and I think that's pretty fun. Next, I'm going to work on day 12. This is a photo of my kitty cat laying on my husband's lap, and then we had a whole plumbing issue this day, so I'm going to make this little flip-up card. The pictures of the plumbing pieces are not that exciting, and I don't really necessarily need to be showing them on the page, so I thought I was just going to glue them down like this, but then I decided to make a little flip book and then hide those pictures. But I'm going to still journal on this card about what happened this day, but I don't need to see those pictures of the plumbing parts. So I'm going to make this flip up book, and I decided to use that stamp set that you see on the left of the picture. And I'm going to use the UGG and the Say What stamp, and I'm going to emboss this with some like tinsel silver embossing powder. So you'll see that here in just a minute. I'm first making a little tab so you can see that needs to flip up. I'm going to use my powder tool because I want to make sure that I don't have any extra glitter places I don't want it to be, so I'll just powder up this card. I decided the tinsel is going to look better than the more flat silver. This is just a Recollections brand. And I'm going to pull my stamps out in this Versamark pad. Now this does add a lot of powder, and you can see that since it's black cardstock, but I will use a little rag later on so you don't notice that it has that powder on it later. But that powder works really well for static and things so that you don't have the embossing powder going where you don't want it to. Embossing powder is so messy anyway. So here I'm just tapping it off. I'll try to get most of it back in the jar. I am having it all over the desk. I don't know, every time I do embossing powder, and I'm sure you guys are the same way, it just goes everywhere. So now I'm just heat embossing this with my heat gun. And then I'm going to add the tab, and this is the point where I kind of figured that it just didn't look good. It needed something else, so I'm going to add another stamp and emboss it as well. Gluing down my photos here. I was having trouble with my little adhesive roller. This is not my favorite adhesive. I think I mentioned it. It's from scrapbook.com. I don't know, I just don't like it. It's real stringy, it doesn't come off nicely. I like the dot adhesive better. But I was at a scrapbooking crop and I forgot my, in like the, you know how you can replace the like the replacement inserts that go in their little glue dispenser. Well, I bought the replacements, but then I forgot to bring the glue dispenser with me, so I ended up having to buy one at a crop that I was at, and this is what I bought. And I wanted to try it out too, because you know it's always nice to try new adhesives and things like that, but I found out that I just really didn't like it that much, but I wanted to use it up because I had it. But later on, after I think I used it on December Daily most of the time, and then it ran out, so I went back to my normal dot adhesive that I like a lot better. So now it did crack a little bit because I used that heat embossing tool after I put the photos down, but I decided I'm not going to worry about it. It's just a picture of a plumbing part that's hidden anyway under that little card, so I'm just going to leave it like that. It's no big deal. Now I think that looks cute, but I do feel like I need something else on that little flip up, so in a minute I'm going to add a little word strip. It just says naughty because the toilet was being naughty. Basically, it came unsealed from the ground. My husband was cleaning, he noticed it was loose, and the next thing you know, we're replacing the seal and all this kind of crazy stuff because it was broken. And you know how those home improvement projects work. You find one little thing, you think, oh, it's just this little quick, easy thing to do, and the next thing you know, you're, installing a whole new toilet. At least we didn't do that. At least it wasn't that bad. But still, it kind of ruined our Saturday. It wasn't something we were expecting to do, but what are you going to do? That's what happens when you have a house. So I really like how that looks, and I am just going to now work on this bottom photo. I felt like that 12 was getting a little lost and it needed some place to sit so it wasn't floating around. I'm going to trim out this piece of scrap paper and use my little scallop. My scallop border punch is probably one of my favorite border punches to use. I have several border punches, but I pull this one out almost all the time, especially my December Daily. I just think it adds just a little bit, but it's still simple. It's not overwhelming. So I tend to use it a lot. So I like how that looked. I'm just going to add some adhesive down and then set the little 12 on top of that. And then I felt like it still needed a little bit more, so you'll see I'll pull out another one of my fabric ruffles, and then I'm going to add that also to this piece that I'm working on now. At the very end, I actually end up putting that little flip-up book. That will actually glue on the outside of the page protector because I want to be able to flip it up and I didn't want to cut the page protector. And I don't mind things being on the outside of the page protector, so it works out okay. So while I'm doing this, I just want to thank you guys so much for joining me. If you enjoyed the video, please give me a thumbs up. If you haven't already, please subscribe. I hope to have more videos up soon. I'm going to try to get most of my December Daily videos up, even though it's after Christmas, just so you guys can use them for inspiration if you guys are still working on your December Dailies or you want to use them for other projects. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Thank you guys so much, and I will be back again very soon. Have a great day. Bye, everyone.